but it's not. It's love, light, and shadow. Um, and it's so important to do your shadow work, to integrate your shadow, to familiarize yourself. It's to bring the balance between your light and your shadow. Um, and as Reem was speaking, you know, it was like she was literally speaking for me. She was voicing messages that I have been receiving an awful lot lately. And again, about having healthy boundaries. It's not about having the walls up and like, stay away from me and, screw you. It's more about having the boundaries. This is my space. Respect my space. Respect me. That's not okay. I do not receive that. You cannot enter here. And again, it's discernment. It's tuning into yourself and understanding that your journey is your own. We cannot control anybody else's journey, but we can, you know, take responsibility for our own experience. And in hindsight, I've learned that most of the traumatic experiences, I've had have been because I allowed it in. I actually welcomed it in. Now, obviously not as a little girl, being sexually abused at 4, 5, 6 years of age onwards, you know, there wasn't the awareness. But as I got older, I was so caught in that victim energy. Um, that I just didn't understand that it's okay to actually say really loud, back off, out of my space. That is a righteous anger. It's, I don't know what the word is. At the moment, I'm getting divine justice is done now. Divine justice is done now. And, I can actually feel the truth of that resonating for me. I'm not saying this is your message, but for me, it's like the scales of justice have balanced. I was so lost in my shadow frequencies, in the survival mode, that in the darker aspects of myself, that my light side, which I'm going to be really honest, I was more afraid of my light than I was of my shadow, because I was so familiar with living in the shadows that living in the light it scares the crap out of me, because it's so unfamiliar, it's so new. um and it can be so overwhelming, the feeling of love that I can be bathed in sometimes, that my spirit team is sharing me with this unconditional love. And it's beautiful. And I know some will look at me and go, look at you, you're crying. That's not beautiful. But it's so overwhelmingly beautiful. The goosebumps that are flowing through me right now. It's such an exquisite experience that it's too much for me to kind of contain it. So it overwhelms me and I end up crying. But it's not tears of pain. It's tears of joy. It's like never in my life have I felt so supported while at the same time being so vulnerable. But that's just the camera thing. But again, it's the thing of, it's important to get the message across that it is okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to open up and feel, because even the painful feelings now they don't really overwhelm me too much, unless if I'm trying to help a group, then as an empath I'm tuned in, so I feel all of it. So one to one, I can handle that with fair amount of ease. But if I'm doing it for more than one person, sometimes that's a lot of a lot of that energy, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But I'm learning now in the past I would have gone, tried to block it and shut it out. Whereas now I'm learning to allow it to flow. And I'm learning to understand that, yeah, there's going to be people that judge and mock me. But you know what? That's okay. Because there's also plenty of people who won't. There are plenty of people who can feel the truth in what I'm sharing, can feel the exquisite beauty, the love, that unconditional abundance of love that is freely available to every single one of us if we just choose to surrender and release all the pain that we're dragging around with us that's causing us to armor up. It's going back to the frequency of forgiveness. And sometimes I get very self-conscious about the fact that I repeat myself in my videos sometimes. But again, the reason for that is sometimes we know things. I've been guilty of this with people in the past. Like, yeah, I know. But like, I'm irritated because I might know it, but I'm not implementing it. I'm not living it. I'm not applying it in my daily experience. And sometimes the messages get repeated because, sometimes we get distracted and we forget that we're not applying it. So we need reminding. Also, the reason for repetition, and again, I see it with other people doing videos and readings and things like that. Sometimes repetition is needed because there may be somebody new tuning in and watching for the first time who needs to receive that. And again, it's back to the thing. Let's stop judging. Let's just start, receiving what resonates and just surrendering what doesn't. Because not every single aspect of these messages are for you. Some aspects are for another. And I, Amanda, I don't know who's watching and when, but I do know that what comes through me is necessary for those who are watching. Whether it's, one sentence or, several minutes of what I have to say, what comes through, that's not my business. It's not my concern. And if it bothers people, that's not my concern either. Because the reason I'm doing this is for those that it does help, for those that need that little bit of inspiration, need that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel that, there is nothing wrong with you. You're overwhelmed by life. A life where, yes, we've been given and gifted all of these wonderful abilities, but we didn't have the teachers to teach us. And in fact, we were taught the opposite. We were taught to shut out our intuition. We were taught to ignore our inner guidance. And we all had it. We came in as children so connected and so in tune until the grown-ups. And again, not because they're evil. They didn't know any better. They were also victims of their own trauma. They were also, and some of them still are, so lost in their own world of pain that they didn't understand what they were doing when they were conditioning us and teaching us to stop that, shut up, do what you're told. Don't mind that, don't be speaking nonsense, do what you're told, respect your elders, respect the authorities. Like as children, we had all of this wisdom, but can't speak for everyone, but for me, it was beaten out of me. And although something inside always kind of went, this doesn't feel right to me, because all the grown-ups and the people I trusted, and the people that were supposed to protect me and guide me were saying the complete opposite, I started internalizing then that there was something wrong with me. Whereas, it's taken 47 years, but I'm beginning to understand there is nothing wrong with me. I've just grown in a system that was in such opposition to my natural essence that I got lost. I got so lost in the confusion and the misunderstanding. And again, we're also taught not to communicate clearly. You know, what goes on indoors stays indoors. Don't discuss it. Don't let anybody know your business. But what I'm coming to understand is that, you know what, openness, open communication, authenticity, it's so important because, you know, when we're truly open, very often there's no need for words. Sometimes people, you just feel. And at the moment, I'm I'm finding that the dissonance or the contrast between the words people are speaking and the frequencies that they're emitting, because again, I'm empathic, so I feel people's vibrations. That's how I can see who somebody is, because I can feel their energies, I can feel the resonance, I can feel what's going on. And, you know, when the words are contradicting what I'm picking up, it's like, okay. And I try to tackle it as gently as possible because, again, I don't want to offend. My only desire really is to assist. But it's not my job to run around and push this on people. You know, it's anybody that asks me, I do my best to help them. I can only help to my own level of awareness and ability, but I will do my very best to shine a light and help you find your own way. I will never tell you what to do. The only thing I will tell you to do is go within, make time for yourself, get to know yourself, go on a journey of self discovery. Because, you know, running around the world expecting other people to save you, other people to understand you, other people to, you know your needs in advance, and, you know, to telepathically understand you when you don't even understand yourself. It's not actually possible because you're giving off mixed frequencies. Now, have I mastered keeping my frequency in alignment? No, I haven't. Just like you and everyone else, I'm still figuring all this out. I'm still just taking things one day at a time. Sometimes I have to break it down as one moment at a time. But I'm freeing myself in the process. And, you know, as uncomfortable as it is exposing myself like this, Spirit just keeps reassuring me that it's important because one of you, some of you, I don't know, but you need to witness this. You need to see this in order to understand this. You know, this spiritual journey of getting to know yourself. And again, I'm getting that religious quote, uh, to know me, know thyself. And you know, again, I'm not educated enough to know all the religious teachings. And again, please don't get me wrong, I'm not anti religious. I think some of the institutions and man has kind of twisted some of them, but the teachings, the wisdom in some of these sacred books, do you know, and the similarities in all of these books, you know, like I was raised Catholic. I'm not a practicing Catholic, but that's the background that I was raised in. So again, know me, know thyself is what's coming, because that's, you know, the words I have to translate what I'm receiving right now. But I believe is there ancient Egyptian text or something, you know, about the kingdom of heaven lying within. It's the same frequency. Um, and again, there's so many similarities in all of these different teachings. And we can learn a lot if we can just shake off whatever issues we have around the religious institutions, um, where, you know, human error. None of us is perfect. None of us, none of us has it all worked out. If we had it all worked out, sure, we'd be back in the spirit realms. We are here to have the human existence. And, I'm coming to the understanding now that, if you want to make the world a better place, it's not about running around trying to get people in a headlock and go, come on over here, I need to tell you this is how you need to live. Not at all. But it is about doing your own work, doing your own inner journey, getting to know yourself, freeing yourself of the heavier frequencies, because as your frequency rises, again, this ripples out. And the higher you're vibrating, that affects anybody that comes into your orbit. And as more and more people on the planet are experiencing this, rise in their own frequency, collectively the energy on the planet is rising. And people are starting to connect around the world who are, vibrating on similar frequencies and have a desire to help others who are struggling to find their way. And we do that simply by offering it out. It's not about forcing it on anybody, and even this YouTube monarchy, it's so not me. Like before I started this, like I wouldn't even like the only other social media I have like would be the likes of Facebook, and even then I never typed comments or did anything. I prefer to just remain invisible in the background. But it's just coming through that it's really important now that we start offering. And again, it's in the offering. It's offering the love frequency. It's offering the lessons we're learning. It's offering the awareness that's coming in. It's offering it out for those that are seeking it. It's not about ramming it down anyone's throat. If this is not for you, just turn it off. But if there's something guiding you to press play on this, there is a reason. And I'm learning to have faith in spirit. Um, as challenging as it is for me, and as much as it triggers my, lifetime of insecurity, um, there's also that sense of they've got my back. I know this is important. I know this is the right thing to do. Um, the Morrigan card is staring at me here. I'm just being really drawn to it, and her energy has been. She's been with me for quite a long time. The first time I really connected with her actually terrified me. It was back in 2012 in a sweat lodge. And I wanted to sit by the door so I could escape and run if I needed to, because I was terrified about my health issues, and like serious blood pressure problems, and just in case medically I couldn't cope with it, that there was a quick exit. Um, I was sitting in a lot of fear back then, and I will never forget, this sensation that came over me. I didn't fully understand that I was a channel back then. And I remember like being in the sweat lodge and the heat and like, oh, and suddenly it was like, I don't know, I just felt present. And I remember actually putting my hands over my mouth because what was trying to come out was, I am the Maragoo. And and I was terrified because I'd no understanding about these sacred energies and these other frequencies, except that, I'd heard through some of the myths and legends, that this was a frequency to be feared. And again, we have so much fear around the frequency of death. And, the Morrigan is a goddess who's very closely associated with the frequency of death. And, death is not something to be feared. The death and rebirth process is actually so incredibly beautiful. And I'm coming to understand that, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes several times throughout the day, I will go through a death and rebirth experience. And if you think about it, every night when you go to bed, you're dying to the aspect of who you are today. And when you rise again in the morning and you're reborn, and when you understand who you are and you understand that you have the free will to choose who you are today, how are you going to be today? Who do you want to be? Be the person you choose to be, not the person that has been put in a box and labeled over the years. Be yourself. We're constantly in this flow. And again, I'm getting the infinity symbol. Here it goes again. This is all about the seasons, death and rebirth. But it's all about life. We have spring, when the buds start coming after the dormancy of winter. Spring flows into summer, where everything's in bloom, then on into autumn, which is the time of harvest, and where we gather all the fruits of nature. And then, it flows on into winter again, which, can appear like a cycle of death. And in a way, it is. But, nature retreats back into the darkness. And again, we have the light, and again, geography is not my strong point. So I know it can vary depending whether you're in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, but here in Ireland, winter is the time of darkness. And a lot of people are very afraid of the darkness. But life comes in the darkness. Our natural rhythms and cycles, before the invention of electricity and all of this artificial light and digital stimulation of keeping us going, 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 and, living in this constant state of hypervigilance and stress. The winter was the time where we rested more. There was, all the time of productivity was done during the time of light. And the darkness was the time to rest. It was planning, for when the light returns. And again, it's back to this ebb and flow, everything. And again, this is back to the universal laws. It's really important that we learn about these universal laws. And as I'm saying that, I'm aware I'm not studying them, but yet they keep coming up. But for me, I find it very difficult. I did Google them. I even wrote them out. But I have difficulty. I'm the type of person that I learn through experience. I learn through story and emotion, through feeling. And that's, it will come to me. I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to see the bigger pictures, and spirit is starting to show me things in more of a story form. So again, this is why I can be so meandering in piecing it together, because I don't have that analytical mind. I cannot read something and retain that information and spit it back out and deliver it. I have to live it or feel it to understand it. But it's something that repeatedly comes through. The importance of recognizing and understanding the universal laws, because when we do, it actually assists us in navigating our way through the flow of life. And again, the Morrigu, as I like to call her, because that's how she kind of came to me. But the Morrigan frequency, and again, I have the card here in front of me. And again, I don't know if that can be seen. Forgive me, I just really don't understand technology. But again, it's this gift. She has this gift to offer. The gift of awareness and consciousness. Death is not something to fear. And I started to giggle there a moment ago because I got the scene from The Lion King again, and the voice of James Earl Jones, as Mufasa, Simba, remember who you are. And That scene resonated with so many people, child and adult alike. Why? Because it carries a resonance of truth in it for all of us to remember who you are, who you truly are. Not the person that has been pigeonholed and boxed and told how to be, how to live your life, what define other people defining what success is. But remember who you are, who you truly are, what lights you up, what life do you choose to live, and start taking steps towards living that life for yourself. And once you make that decision, spirit guides you. Spirit is constantly communicating to us through synchronicities, like with numbers, with animals, and again, if you start recognizing and noticing repetition, and then you go like googling. I've always hated technology, but I'm beginning to see some benefits, for growth and awareness, because animals in particular are used with me, like when it comes to receiving stuff from spirit. They keep getting animals to cross my path, and now I'm learning, now when I see unusual occurrences, to google the spirit meaning. And sometimes it's very easy to go, oh yeah, I know what that means, because you may have looked something up before and you got the message that it meant to you in that moment. But they want me to let you know it's really important to look at it again, because the message that was for you the last time you googled the spirit animal meaning of that particular animal, or the meaning of angel number or whatever, or the master number meanings, you know you're in a different place. There could be a different sentence that resonates with you today. So it's like, pay attention, look them up again, because I know I'm guilty of it, and I've certainly witnessed it in a lot of other um friends and acquaintances. There is that thing of, oh yeah, I know what that means because we received a message before, but actually often we don't. We remember what it meant in that past moment, but not the relevance of the right here, right now. So again, it's worth, paying attention to these things. And even if you think you already know something, just double check, because there's often another sentence or a paragraph or something that will pop out, and again, you always feel it. You feel the resonance. You always know the piece that was meant specifically for you. And, like you could give 10 people, one message, and each of the 10 will receive something different. Different part of the message will resonate differently with each person depending on what each individual needs. So we have to kind of stop this thing of, you know, making things be fixed in stone, because they're often, that's not how it works. It can be different for everyone, because we are all experiencing the journey of life in a different way, from different perspectives. And there is no right or wrong, which is why it's important for us to start respecting each other, and being mindful, to not forcefully interfere on others' journeys. Um, is there anything else? I think I'm done. um, and again, I know I can be very long-winded. Um, I'm actually having my own little inner battle here now with, what have you done? You're doing it again, Uh, I see every time I do that, it's like I'm pushing spirit out. I it's like I didn't really want to use the cards because I'm beginning to understand that, the cards really, they validate what I've said. And it's that thing of, I'm learning to trust in myself that if it's come out my mouth, there's a purpose to it. And it's not always for me to understand the whys, because, sometimes it's not my message. There's times where, some of it is mine, some of it does resonate with me. But then there's times where it's nothing to do with me at all. But whoever it's for, I trust that they receive it. But again, the cards that came out earlier, the Morrigan, she really she wants to make her presence known. I'm going to have to sit with her, with her frequency, and, tune in properly without the fear of the past. And, Bridget, who is also a triple goddess energy, she also came out with the message, don't back down, stand up for what you believe is right. And Mama Kocha, I do not know how to pronounce it. She's a water goddess, and it's card number 33. So again, there's some link here with the Morrigan is a triple goddess aspect, the Bridget is a triple goddess aspect. And then, this water Mama Kocha or Ocha, the 33, master number 33. So again, the three frequency has been so profound as part of my own journey. And again, like in Celtic cultures, we've the triple spirals, the triquettas, the triskells, and again, these triple goddess energy. But it's also, the Catholic Church has the Holy Trinity of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. So, this Trinity frequency has come really strongly with me, or to me, or through me. And again, my understanding of it, again, is that it's the balance. It was through bringing the balance of my masculine and feminine energy. It was through balancing my inner and outer self, my yin and my yang. It was through the harmony and balance of that the third, the Holy Trinity, that divine connection,